welcome to Careers That Matter, and cybersecurity really does matter. There's probably a whole host of people right now that are going to be listening to this because they're saying, how on earth do you get into that business? Tell me a little bit about your journey into the world of cybersecurity. When you were young, did you go, oh yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be, a cybersecurity expert.
100% not for me.
Not for you? Well, tell me what was the path?
Yeah, for me, it's more about being a business person. So that was the path for me. I came about this through the business route and through commercial insurance and risk management. So I was looking after businesses' risks, including cyber risks. For their tangible property, their building stock and equipment, their legal liability, and then cyber liability and cyber coverage was one of the areas. That's how I ended up getting into this, to the point where I loved it so much that I ended up going into it all the way.
So, but then did you then have to start to develop the kind of technical expertise to be able to set yourself up to go to companies and go, work with us?
Yes.
And we can help you build the systems that are people related and technology related.
Yes.
That's why we teamed up.
That's correct. Yeah, I would say the technology components are primarily Dominic, but I think for me, having that framework of the context of something called enterprise risk management. Mm-hmm. So that's the idea of cyber risk and financial risk and project risk. Strategic risk, all of these different areas of risk are important in an organization, and they have to all fit together in a big enterprise risk program. So different departments, different categories of risk need to communicate together. So I had that baseline of knowledge from that standpoint, and then I would say a lot of studying.
Right.
Years of studying subsequently specific to the cyber.
Right. So when you're at a dinner party right now and somebody goes, but Christian, I've got a little problem with my phone here. Can you fix it? You go, no, talk to him.
Exactly. I give it to my 9-year-old daughter to fix the phone.
Dominic, how did you get started in this business?
Yeah, so I always wanted to do something in IT. So my dad is, was before he retired, a computer science teacher in Vancouver. And
so you come through it through genetically.
Yeah, I always knew from an early age I wanted to do something in the technology space. I mean, my dad...
Right, because there were just ones and zeros all over the place inside your house?
Well, no, I mean, my back to when I was really small, my dad brought home one of the first Apple machines, and allegedly he told me when I was 2, I was already working on it and programming it with him. So it was sort of instilled in me at a very early age. And when I was at university at Simon Fraser, where I was getting my bachelor's in computer science, I was trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. And my dad would bring home these huge stacks of IT magazines, which all these IT companies would send him. And he's like, there's got to be something in here that you find interesting.
So were you that guy who was just devouring IT magazines?
Yeah, I was a bit of a geek earlier on. And one day I was just like, I found something, and it was called it said InfoSec magazine. I was like, what hell is InfoSec?
Right. Yeah.
And I looked through it, and I thought it was really, really interesting. It was completely different because all the other stuff looked the same to me. I was like, this is different, and I've always prided myself on being different. And so I started self-learning because none of that stuff was available at SFU at the time. Cybersecurity was a very nascent idea at that time. And so I self-taught myself that. And after university, I managed to find a job, an entry-level job where I was completely underpaid, but I was looking forward to just having a chance.
And that's because the industry didn't even understand.
It didn't really exist.
What the value of what you brought.
That's
to,
right.
Okay.
That's right. It was very, very early days. Yeah. So I was very lucky from an early age. My entire career, all I have done is cybersecurity. So I did various. I'd like to say there was my corporate life, and then there's my current life. I did corporate for almost 10 years. And early on, I always thought I wanted to lead a cybersecurity team for a really big organization. And I ended up working for a fairly large organization, running a cybersecurity function. And I was, for lack of a better term, miserable. I said to myself, this isn't how I thought it would turn out. I would go to meetings, especially when you're working for a large company, you'll go to a meeting, you'll come out and like, what the hell did just happen in that meeting? Like nothing was accomplished.
Right.
And I lost my inner sense of passion. And that's when I left, and I guess that'll be 4 years ago this summer, and I formed Cyber SC to be able to focus on small and mid-sized businesses, organizations which were chronically underserved. And that helped reignite my passion.
Yeah, okay. But it also threw you into the world of small business, which is not an easy
No, it's not an
endeavor.
No, and it was something I didn't fully anticipate, but which
I know.
which has been really cool though is that the person I thought I was is very different than the person who I was meant to be.
Okay, what's the difference?
I'd like to think I'm a little more likable than the person I thought I was. But being in corporate, I was, again, doing the corporate 9 to 5 and sort of just trying to do what I had to do to get through the day. Now, in which I find myself to be much more of an extrovert, I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy meeting potential new clients or potential new strategic partners, having conversations. These were all things that didn't feel right to me early on. I always thought I was an introvert who just liked to be at my desk typing away. That wasn't me. I thought that was me for almost 20 plus years.
Wow.
So it's been a very fulfilling journey that way, and I'm very lucky to do what I do.
Well, on my side of the small business equation, I can tell you that it is probably the most exhilarating
Yes.
and the most
Humbling.
humbling, challenging, horrifying,
Frustrating.
frustrating. Wake
a
up in
roller
the
coaster.
morning and work till you go to sleep 7 days a week grind of the last 20 years, and I wouldn't change it for a
the world.
thing.
Yeah.
But it is not easy.
No.
So thankfully you put yourself out there because there are so many companies that are probably going, well, who do I turn to? Like, where do I find this kind of expertise? And the fact that you're able to do risk assessment and management coupled with the technology side of it all makes a big difference. What's a typical day look like for the two of you?
There's
Or is there such a thing?
There's really no such thing as a rinse and repeat.
No.
I would say that our process is very similar for what we take clients through.
Yeah.
But it could be anything from, recording social media content to
Chatting with you.
Yeah, right.
having phone meetings, web meetings,
Yeah.
in-person meetings with current clients or prospective clients or
I would say no one day is the same. It's the variety. I think that both Christian and I love, and that was something which one of the reasons why I don't think we could ever go back to corporate is that corporate was literally the same day in and day out. Here it's awesome because it's the unknown factor which excites us and gets us up in the morning.
Well, that unknown factor is solving problems.
That's right.
keeps it interesting.
Whoops, I got it. But you have to do it in a way that ensures that your clients are never at risk.
Yes, it's to us the approach is about being able to have those conversations with our clients, because often the main point is that they don't know. They'll come to us and say, we'll see the Capital One news, Capital One breach story on the news.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Could this happen to us? Or there's been some new crazy vulnerability on a Windows machine. Are we affected? What should we do? It's that it's become ingrained in the the popular media news cycle, and that's creating this huge unknown with small and mid-sized businesses, and they're not sure where to turn for practical, pragmatic guidance.
So for some young person who's getting into their career right now, and they're looking at you guys going, well, hang on a second, you're the tech nerd, and you're the the kind of like, well, the risk nerd. What other kinds of opportunities are there? And what should I, because I find this, I think that you're right, that there is an opportunity here. What should I be considering if I want to have a career in the space that you're in?
Yeah,
Not directly just necessarily just your jobs, but within the sector. Because it's growing.
Yeah, for sure.
I will just start it off by saying, I think it's not about being like another person, but just more emulating their process and their attitude and their approach. Being self-aware is a big thing.
Yeah.
That introvert, extrovert. The second thing I would say is try many things. And don't be afraid to fail. It's just experience, right? Especially the younger you are, the more you should really reach out and try things.
Absolutely. And mentoring young students is something which is really important to me, or even people who are maybe, they did 20 years in another job and are trying to transition in. Cybersecurity, like you said, it's a burgeoning area, and more people need to, come into the area to work. And something which I always encourage students is, like Christian was saying, cybersecurity doesn't mean you have to be a hacker. That's sort of the conception or the myth from way back when. There are so many aspects to cybersecurity. Yeah, if you just like trying to break things, yes, there's a piece for that. If you like fiddling around with security systems, yeah, there's a piece for that. If you like doing risk assessments, privacy assessments, being someone who looks at overall enterprise risk, there are just so many facets to security that's often not well known in the general public. And we always encourage young students who have a inclination to get into the field to pursue it, because it really is one of the fastest growing job markets, and will likely have job security for the next 20 plus years, because it's a consistent number one item that the World Economic Forum ranks as being one of the most pressing risks facing organizations and businesses across the world.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, I'm unique in that I'm a terrible employee. So it was good to have that experience that I have. So, I learned, I gained experience, I gained skills. But at the same time, that's part of that self-awareness to say, for those that are entrepreneurial minded like myself, at the end of the day, that's the shape that you are. So at some point, make that leap.
Well, and to quote Joe Siegel, for those of you who don't know who Joe Siegel is, he's an extraordinary guy who started selling, Army and Navy surplus items after the Second World War, went on to be an exceptional success. And he said when young people come to him for advice on how to get started or what they need to do, he says, just do it.
Yes.
Put yourself out there and do it.
Yeah.
Because you're young, you have time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Correct.
And in this sector, because it's still quite new,
Yes.
entering the business now, probably a good move.
Lots of opportunity. That's for sure.
Well, thanks for sharing this,
Thanks,
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it.
because these are careers that do matter.